Welcome to Mine EX-Plorers, episode 7. And instead of our usual co-host, we have...
Me, the other Crystal.
The other Crystal.
The other Crystal.
Burgess.
Amanda Burgess, yes.
And once again, we have Skaboosh, the gray cat, who has decided to be here, and the jealous pepper dog, who's always fun to have on the show.
Welcome to our circus.
Every day, not just on the days we film. And it's also St. Patrick's Day today. By the time this airs, it'll be the day after St. Patrick's Day. But I definitely am getting into the spirit here and looking for plenty of gold. Speaking of gold, gold just crossed $3,000 an ounce.
Cheers.
Cheers to that. So, $3,000 an ounce gold. Did you think we were going to see it this year?
I didn't think we were going to see it this quickly. I'll be curious to see how it ebbs and flows from here. But no, the 3,000 took me by surprise. Pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, it happened pretty quickly. So now we're above 3,000. Obviously, there'll be a new support there because there was resistance for sure around the 3,000
Right.
level. And now that it's broken through, that'll serve as new support. And then I'm not really a chart guy or anything like that, but I think the situation's still pretty bullish from here.
Yeah, we'll have to see, because I feel like we've been saying this for a while, like, oh, now that it's reached 2,000, I think we're going to see more movement. Now that it's reached 2,500, we're going to see more movement. And now we've hit 3,000. I feel like maybe 3,000 is lucky. We'll get a good push in exploration and up in the food chain.
Okay. So, yeah, you kind of jumped ahead to my next question. So I was just asking about what you see next for the price itself. But if we talk about in terms of the miners, so obviously better margins for the producers.
Definitely.
Because a lot of the ASICs, the all-in sustaining costs, are, they hover. They're anywhere from $700 an ounce up to like $1,500 an ounce for a lot of producers today, depending on where they're at and whether they're open pit or underground mining. But even at the high end of that ASIC, there's still over $1,000 in margin. And, they can do a number of things. They can increase their dividend, they can stockpile it and just save it for a rainy day, focus on continuing to make operations improvement, or they'll do what they almost always do, and they're going to look to use some of that money to replace their reserves. So they're going to accelerate the mining while prices are high, mine as quickly as they can, and they're going to want to replace their reserves, either through brownfield exploration around where they're mining or acquiring new projects. And once they start acquiring new projects, that's where we've seen the capital come down the food chain.
Right.
And go more to the juniors and then eventually the prospectors and things like that. And then we'll see it at Burgex. So what do you do for Burgex?
What do I do? I am heavily involved with our landman department, and my specific role is compliance manager. So I help the team with their land status research. I make sure the claim blocks we're laying out for clients are buttoned up as far as not claiming over withdrawn lands and designing an efficient claim block. And then from there, I help with drafting paperwork and auditing the paperwork. And I help with all the filing processes to make sure everything is compliant with state and federal statute.
Cool. So what's it like working for your husband's ex-wife?
Badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, Crystal's awesome. They all know Crystal's awesome. There've definitely been challenges along the way, and I think the three of us have really worked together really well. We've worked a lot on our communication, and I think we make a good team.
Cool. I agree. I think we make a good team as well. And, there's always critters around to make it hard. I notice you have cat pants on.
Yes, my St. Patty's cat pants.
Maybe that's what attracted him. We haven't seen him in a few episodes.
No.
He's back now.
Yeah.
Apparently something about the cat pants and the St. Patrick's Day brought the...
Yeah, he's here for the holidays.
Yeah, and it is his time. So every evening I spend time with this guy around this time of night. And so I think he's waiting for his appointment. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't care. He's like, you can film right through it, but this is my time.
Yeah.
I'm taking skaboosh time right now. You should all feel pretty lucky getting skaboosh time. So you handle a lot of paperwork.
A lot of paperwork.
And it's got to be right.
It's got to be right.
What happens if it's not right?
It's costly.
Yeah.
So sometimes faulty paperwork can just be simply amended, but even that's a risk. If you don't get your amendments done in time or you don't receive notification of your amendments, then you just lose that piece of your claim block. More importantly, having the claim block buttoned down as far as claim placement and land status, that's where you've got to get it right at the beginning. You don't control what you don't control, and you have to know exactly where your mineral rights are, and that's what we help with.
So
that's what
measure once, measure twice, cut once.
Yeah, exactly.
Cut 5 times, measure it later.
Only if you're the government.
Duct tape it back together. So you see a lot of paperwork, do a lot of land status. Mm-hmm. That's the important part. Kind of backing up a little bit, what sorts of claims are you seeing be filed right now?
Mostly load claims for copper.
Copper is very key, yes.
Although copper's kind of been our big seller. We don't sell claims, but it's been the majority of our claims over the last year and a half. It's been mostly copper, but we have very recently, we've had a few gold projects come through. We've had some interest in antimony, and we recently did a very large lithium play again. So
interesting.
Yep, someone is feeling good about lithium, or at least confident enough to hold it for a minute. So I hope that goes well.
I mean, any claim block is still hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So somebody's feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, someone is feeling good about it, and I hope to see that go far. Well, it's in an area that's been tested a few times, and I would like to see it happen. I'd like to see it happen for all of our clients, honestly.
Right.
Statistics say no, but I always feel optimistic on behalf of all of our clients.
Exploration's rough. They say 1 in 1,000 gold projects becomes a gold mine.
Right.
And just broadening that out to general mining, maybe if you include like commodities, sand and gravel, crushed stone, things like that, where your odds of success are a lot higher. Mm-hmm. Maybe out of every 1,000 projects that get drilled, 10 go into production. And obviously on like the sand and gravel side, it's probably 1 in 3.
Right.
And then it goes all the way to gold, which is the hardest, which is like 1 in 1,000, or maybe even 1 in 5,000 these days. Yeah. So super, super high failure rate in exploration. And, it kind of takes a special kind of person to keep going back and trying it again and again and again.
Right.
Some interesting characters, of which I bet you've met some.
I've met a few. I married one.
Lucky guy.
Indeed.
Very lucky guy. I'll have to talk to this guy. We should have him on the show sometime.
Yeah. Maybe try him out.
Yeah.
See if he's camera shy.
Probably totally bad on camera. I bet he wouldn't be good to talk to at all.
No.
Nothing interesting to say.
No.
But we have a cat.
What do you think the success rate is for copper projects?
Copper projects is probably about the same as gold.
You think so?
Maybe slightly better. So copper is only done on a big scale.
Right.
Whereas gold, you can still go out and theoretically mine gold from a stream and get, 20 ounces every summer with your granddad. But copper, there's no real small scale. That's disappearing.
Right.
And so they're all big, huge projects with a lot of capital expenditure. So it's not that copper doesn't get found. It gets found all the time.
Right.
But it's that to put together a good copper mine, you need a lot of land, you need good logistics, you need favorable economics. And then, like when we talked with Rold the other day about water and things like that,
Right.
copper is what he called a higher risk material, meaning processing copper requires more chemicals. Pulling copper and the metals that come with it out of the ground requires more care and environmental controls and things like that. And so you not only need a bigger project in a better location that's got enough tonnage to make sense, but also have it in an area that can be protected. So putting together a big copper project or a copper project of really any significant scale is very difficult. So I'd say the odds are actually probably the same as gold or worse.
That's what I was thinking worse.
Yeah, potentially.
I was thinking worse. Just thinking about the large copper projects in the U.S. that have been held up for permitting
For decades.
for decades. I would almost wager the success rate is worse than gold.
Yeah,
But
probably is.
I have not run the numbers.
Yeah, historically, it's probably been about the same, but recently I would say it's probably worse, particularly in the United States, but globally. I mean, I'm also thinking on a global scale versus locally, but
Sure.
we have multiple clients with gold projects that are in development, ready to be developed in various stages of advanced permitting, and almost all the copper projects we're working on are either hung up in litigation or permitting, or they're nowhere near production.
Right.
So there's a lot of in between, and the development work that needs to be done on these projects. Just between even getting your permits and going into production, there's so much infrastructure
Right.
and so much
Yeah.
development work that needs to be done. You look at like Resolution, and it's a massive deposit. It's going to be, produce a huge portion of the U.S.'s copper, but there's still like 10 years in just development down there. Getting all of the shafts sunk and the cross cuts and the surface facilities and all the pre-mining work and the development work and everything just to get that up and going, and forget about the permits. And that's the other thing too is, there's a lot of talk about permits and we need to fast track the permits and everything, but then there also needs to be a huge amount of capital available to do all the development work and labor and expertise to do it.
Right.
There's only so many mining engineering firms that can take on all these different projects if they were all to happen at once. So
That's true.
there's multiple bottlenecks. Speaking of bottlenecks, what's going on with the BLM right now and claim adjudication?
It depends on where you're at.
Well, let's say, how's it going in the best of places and how's it going in the worst of places, and what's kind of the average?
I would have a really hard time putting an average on it. I guess in a lot of areas, I tell our clients to expect 2 years, and then there are
For claim adjudication.
for claim adjudication, and that is in the door at the BLM, getting entered into their database, getting through the whole process where their land law examiner looks at the claim, looks at the claim paperwork, including the map.
Land law examiner?
The land law examiner. That's the official title of the adjudicator.
Wow.
The land law examiner will look at our paperwork, the notice or certificate of location. They'll look at the filing map. They will compare that to all of the available master title plats. And then they'll make the determination on whether or not that land was available for location and whether or not the mineral rights were available. And to do that process, in most states, I advise that it takes about 2 years.
Wow.
And that is a good number across the states that we send claims to. There are other states where I can reasonably advise our clients to sit tight for 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. But there are some states that are rocking it. Arizona right now is crushing it. They're taking about 18 months on the high end to do the adjudication, which, they've actually made a lot of headway with their backlog in the recent months. So 18 months or less is great for Arizona. There's a couple states where they don't get as many claims, so they're running quick. Colorado's quicker, New Mexico's quicker, and then there's other states that are just so backlogged. I don't know what hope there is right now other than, for the love of God, give them more resources. Wyoming's one of them. Wyoming, I would love to see whatever Arizona did. I'd love to see an Arizona shakeup in Wyoming. Get some help, get some resources in the office, get some more people on the case and start moving through their backlogs there.
So 10 years for adjudication. By that point in time, just based on my experience, I would say 80% of those claims will be dropped. 10 years? What do you think?
Yeah, I think 80's kind of high. I mean that depends on so many things, like what it is you're really after and where you're at and what kind of project you have, like small or large, what you're going for.
But you can safely assume the holding costs are going to go up over that time period.
For sure, and they have. I mean, just last year, the holding costs went up significantly, in fact.
Compared to 10 years ago.
Yeah,
it's gone from $100 to $165.
We saw, what was the last price increase?
It's like $35 or $40, something like that.
Yeah, and
per
then
claim.
Well, I mean, before that.
Oh, before that it was like another 20. Yeah.
Yeah, before that it was 20, and then this last year it went from 165 to 200, and.
Oh, see, I quoted 165. It's already to 200.
It's
so
200 now.
You could see 400 in a decade, and at that level, like how many claims are actually going to be held?
And you're going to see a lot of the hobbyists drop.
They're gone already.
There's
so few individual prospectors and hobbyists out there now.
They call me up from time to time.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Back to those characters.
They got a claim to sell. They're real hot to sell.
Yeah.
Yeah. We still get those guys out there, and we need those old timers that wanna put in the sweat equity to prove up a little spot.
I mean they do find stuff from time to time. It's not all geophysicists and tons of data. I mean there's still no substitute for boots on the ground and just taking chip samples and grab samples and soil samples and just really hiking around.
Right.
You might see stuff that everybody's missed, and it does happen, but it's definitely getting rarer, that's for sure. So what's a little bit more personal, what's your favorite part of your job?
Lately, my favorite part of the job has been passing on the knowledge. We have a lot of green people in the office, and
Environmentalists.
no. Young, fresh, not tired yet.
Okay.
Not burnt out or
Not
jaded.
gray like me and Skaboosh.
Not jaded green. I'll tell you that. Not jaded green. Fresh green.
That nice Wyoming jade.
Oh, that nice Wyoming jade. Yeah, we have some fresh green people in the office, and they are eager to learn and do the job well and serve our clients well and learn more about the industry. So passing on the knowledge has been a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah. I don't find many people who are interested in all of the details. So having a few backups in the office has been really nice.
Yeah, it's a lot of knowledge, and it's a lot of arcane knowledge there's not a book that says everything.
No.
There's not
No.
and it's definitely not online. Like bits and pieces, and you can put it together, but there's so much that requires so many different things that we've learned over the years and kept notes of, and then just being able to talk to the ledge logger zappers.
The zappers.
The ledge log zappers.
The land law examiners.
The land log. The lat long examiners. Sounds like a weird coordinate system. The land law examiners. Yeah, all of the conversations with those people and things that you've learned from going through the adjudication process on so many different claims and in so many different jurisdictions. That knowledge, I mean, if you can't teach it to somebody else, it just disappears.
Yeah, I mean, it disappears, and then it ruins the opportunity for advancement. You don't really get beyond learning the same lesson over and over and over.
So where do the log zappers learn it from?
They have a handbook, and
I have a copy of it. It does not have all the answers.
it does not have all the answers. They're learning it the way that I'm teaching it in the office. It gets handed down, and that's the real fun piece of my job is every single BLM office tells me we do it all the same way, every single state, and in the conversations that I've had between all the states, I promise they are not all doing it the same way.
Right, and it's not like they all get together and have a Log Zapper conference and go through everything. So,
well, I think they do actually have state or federal wide meetings, but I do know one time I caused a kerfuffle and something came up about the way we describe placer claims, and that caused everyone to get on the same page about that. So
it does happen then.
It does happen.
That's good.
I guess if you raise a kerfluffle at the right time, they'll get on the horn with everybody and bring it up.
Did you win?
I did.
There you go.
I did, but I try not to brag about it.
Well, this is your chance.
Well, I won. I fought the law.
You did, and you won.
And I won.
I did win on the state level with a similar thing, and it felt pretty good.
Yeah, it
held.
Feels good.
All these years, it was like 10 years ago, and it's still held, and they still do it that way. So
yeah, still
cool.
going.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's your favorite part. It's passing on the knowledge. What's your least favorite part?
Losing, which shouldn't surprise you. There is a finesse in dealing with the BLM and their land law examiners, adjudicators, And there have been times I've had to go to bat on behalf of our client, and I did not come out as rosy on the other side. And there just wasn't anything that could be done about it. And a lot of times in those cases, it was one of those things where, come on, can't we just use common sense?
Right.
But common sense could not prevail because they were bound by regulation and protocol and red tape, and taking that news back to the client just never feels good.
Right.
Like, and you know, at the end of the day, these adjudicators, they're people too.
Right.
They're people too, and I understand they're doing a job and they're doing it the best they can, and it's really hard when I honestly, they're not allowed to say it on their side. They have to say, this is the job, this is the regulation. That's what they have to say, but you can hear it in their voice sometimes. Like, I want to do the common sense thing, but I can't. And then,
right.
And then the client comes back and says, this is not common sense. And I get it.
Right.
And I agree, and there's just nothing to be done.
Yeah, we've done that dance, and sorry, it's not gonna fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hard. It's never fun telling a client that something's not going to work out, whether it's their land package or disappointing drill results, or
right.
You interpret a geophysical study and there's no targets, or you know, you get geochem back and there's nothing.
Right. Right.
You know, there's lots of, or, you know, in our consulting, like we do a market analysis study and evaluation on a property that they may have already purchased and we're super excited about, and go, hey, there's not a market here to support a mine. Like, it's not here. There's not enough value to be had, or you know, I've had to shut down operations where I was brought in to turn them around and tried everything and just said, this isn't economically viable.
Right. Yep.
And that's hard, especially when you have to look people in the eye and go in and say, hey, I'm just the consultant here, but you know, we brought in the experts, we've looked at everything, and you're all losing your jobs.
Yep.
Losing's not fun, especially with other people. And when you care, if you didn't care and you're just like the gurus on TV who go in and you're fired.
Right.
You know? But
yeah.
in real life, it's a lot harder.
Right. Well, and that's what I was saying earlier. You know, I really do want to see all of our clients win, and not just because we're getting a paycheck at the end of the day. Like, I really hope everybody is able to win, whether, you know, for a small guy, maybe it's selling their project to a bigger guy, or maybe one of our bigger clients, it's getting something in production someday. I want to see all the wins happen, and when you have to come back and say, nope, this one's a loss. I mean, I get it. That's life. You win some, you lose some, but it doesn't make it fun.
Yeah, and the veterans in the industry get it. You know, they usually take it a lot better than if it's somebody's first rodeo.
Right, right.
You know, we do get that. People who switch from different industries and it's their first rodeo, and you have to say, maybe being in the rodeo is not for you.
Right.
Maybe you need to go back to
we do have
real
a few.
estate, farming, fishing,
right,
pharmaceuticals, MLMs. We've had people from every background try their hand at mining.
It's
hire
true.
us and be like, hey, I want to be in mining. I want to prospect and develop properties, and sometimes I have to say it's really not for you. So speaking of people switching industries radically, you did not go to school to be in mining.
I did not.
So what's a little bit of your background? Where did you get started and professionally, and how did you end up here?
Yes. I went to school to be an English teacher for high school. And the crazy thing about our education system is we wait till the very last semester of teaching college to try someone out in the classroom. So I did my 4 years, and the last semester I went to the classroom for juniors and seniors and found out very quickly that was not for me.
Oh, it would have saved you so much trouble to just know that right off the bat.
And money. But that's wah, wah. So I spent another year getting a minor in technical writing. And then after graduation, I had no great direction. I ended up moving out to Utah with an ex-boyfriend, and that did not work out, but I am still very grateful for that relationship because I ended up staying here in Utah. I found a job that I really enjoyed, that I found I was good at, and I found you, so that worked out. I didn't find you here, but
well, nobody finds anybody in Sandy.
No, no, probably not. No, yeah, so that's kind of my thing. So the job that I moved, when I moved out to Utah, the job that I picked up was at a medical device testing lab. And
regulators,
that's really where I got my start.
If it'll clear the FDA, it'll probably go through the BLM.
You would hope.
Although hopefully there's a little more common sense at the FDA, but I'm actually afraid to ask that question.
You know, the FDA is just a lot more regulated than the BLM.
So there's probably at least clearer guidelines that you can reference?
Yes.
Versus anecdotal kind of, I feel like it's this way. Versus
a law from 1872 that still is being reinterpreted today. So yeah, the medical device lab was where I really got my start in regulating. I started in data entry, and then I moved up to an auditor position, auditing just all the testing procedures and the reports that were coming out, and making sure that everything was done according to protocol, and writing up the justifications for why it doesn't work when it wasn't done to protocol.
It's interesting. So that's been really well, applied with what you do now, auditing landman department and doing the technical writing on the consulting side and helping with all that.
Yeah, it's applied very well. It did take a minute for me to step back and realize that where we're at, we don't have to do a full CAPA write-up every time something goes wrong. Corrective action, preventative action.
Okay, sorry.
Yep, I pulled out my regulator jargon.
Put that away. Nobody wants to see that.
No, probably not.
I don't have a censor bar that big.
Yeah, so I don't have to do the full write-up. We don't have to do all the change controls every time we adjust our procedure. We can just train everybody, spread the word, and make the change. It doesn't have to be documented 30 different ways. That's been nice, but that was a little bit of a culture change for me.
So what's next? Are you going to be a log zapper?
I kind of feel like I am the in-house land law examiner, but for now, I'm just going to keep riding this ride as it goes.
Well, on that note, I appreciate you joining us today.
Sure.
For St. Patrick's Day and hanging out with me and Mr. Skaboosh and all of our gray hair. All of our wisdom, right, buddy?
Yes.
He's a wise cat.
He is.
He's a very sweet, wise cat. Well, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And next week, you and I and the real Crystal will be in St. Louis for Ag 1, which is the NSSGA's big aggregates expo. It's happening in St. Louis for, I don't know if it's the first time ever, but I think it's the first time in a long time if it's not the first time ever.
Yeah.
And we're going to catch a baseball game.
We're going to catch a game. We're going to be
Cards.
in my hometown.
St. Louis is Amanda's hometown.
Yes.
It's too bad we didn't have more time. I could have talked about that a little bit.
Shucks.
Growing up in the Midwest. But
Ah,
I can almost guarantee you'll be back on the show at some point.
can't wait.
All right. See you next time from St. Louis.